Hello friends, I've made this video to record a presentation I gave at the Sunshine Coast Pakakacha night on the 20th of February 2020, International Pakakacha Day. The theme of the night is Epoch. Epoch implies geological timescales, and humans are very poor at living well within and for the long now. We struggle to imagine our children's children 1,000 years from now. Would they smile or frown at the memory of our legacies? I ask how we might transition out of the current epoch of extinction. Together, let's imagine this great challenge using macrohistory and social foresight. Let us ponder what worldviews and metaphors may reshape humanity 2.0 and a regenerative epoch. If the universe had begun 13 years ago, then at this moment the Earth would have existed for 5 years. Our own human species, Homo sapiens, would have existed for 53 minutes. Modern industrial societies would have existed for 6 seconds. But in 6 seconds, our human impact is so significant on Earth's biosphere that some paleontologists say that the current trend of species extinction is approaching the rates of the 5 most drastic extinction events of the last billion years. Macrohistory is a way to understand epochs. Macrohistory searches for the grand patterns of change across diverse temporal and spatial scales. I'll share 3 different temporal scales to look at the Anthropocene through 3 different frames. Astrophysicists Kardashev and Dyson propose 4 types of civilization based on energy demand and source. A Type 0 civilization draws its energy from exhaustible fossil fuels, a Type 1 from the planet's renewable resources, a Type 2 from a star directly, a Type 3 from the galaxy. This means that the Anthropocene is the handiwork of our Type 0 world. We must transition from a Type 0 to 1, from competing nation-states to planetary governance. Only a planetary civilization can make the decisions to fairly and sustainably manage the planetary flow of energy and resources. Sorokin's macrohistory is based on how cultures perceive the nature of reality. He shows how socio-cultural change is cyclic in the form of a superrhythm from being spiritual to integrated to materialistic and back to spiritual. Our Western culture is clearly materialistic. This means that we need to transition from a materialistic consumer culture towards a spiritual creative one. To avoid ecological collapse, we need to expand our nature of reality to concern ideas and stories of what it means to be human beyond the satisfaction of our bodily senses. Pink's global history maps the progression of 4 eras: agricultural, industrial, informational, and conceptual. He says that in the emerging conceptual age, creators and empathizers will thrive, because computers do poorly those capabilities of the human mind. From Pink, we learn that if our left brain directed reductionist reasoning got us into the Anthropocene crisis, then we have to rely on our high concept, high touch senses to guide our way forward using story, design, synergy, empathy, play, and meaning. This leads us to the key question: what worldview, the big story we tell ourselves, and metaphor may transform us into humanity 2.0 and jumpstart a regenerative epoch? Let's look to Kardashev, Sorokin, and Pink for clues from macrohistory. From Kardashev, if we are to become a Type 1 planetary civilization, then the motivating worldview is attentive to whole Earth dynamics. The thinking is holistic, the structures are global, the process is flowing and ecological. Here, the metaphor for human identity is the cosmonaut. From Sorokin, if we are to become more spiritual as a culture, then the motivating worldview is unity and symbiosis with larger systems, such as James Lovelock's superorganism of all living things, Gaia. Here the metaphor for human identity is the Gaian gardener. From Pink, if we are to become more adept in the conceptual age, then the motivating worldview prioritizes the well-being of people. The thinking is multiplistic, the structures are egalitarian, the process is consensual. Here the metaphor for human identity is the co-creator. Nothing less than a new humanism and awakening is required to reshape our collective species purpose and legacy, so that we are able to be cosmonauts, Gaian gardeners, and co-creators simultaneously, and many others besides. The end of the Anthropocene depends on it, on us. It will not be easy, as new emerging issues challenge our human identity. The converging technological drivers of robotics and artificial intelligence, genomic and bionic augmentations, and the commodification of our personalities by social media may ignite a profound social crisis of human identity. The role of the creative arts during this epochal shift, I believe, is crucial to reimagine and ground our evolving human identities. For example, here is the Millennium Tree by Josephine Wall that celebrates intercultural identities, their histories, and futures. The next epoch needs to be a planetary civilization where we fulfill regeneration, an era of great healing where cosmonauts, gardeners, and co-creators use their diverse talents to revitalize our connections to Gaia. I leave you now with one of my poems, Human Becomings. Long view into humanity unfolding. Whom shall we become? What sort of sapiens? 100 years pass. Do we know our being, our cosmic story and mindful noble plans? 1,000 years pass. Is love all embracing, driving our endeavours, tempering our hands? 10,000 years pass. Do we exist at all? What have we left behind, worthy of recall? If you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends and colleagues. You can find the references which I used for this presentation on the blog post which hosts this video.